Hi, this is Rachel, and welcome to, God, I'm so rusty because it has been months and months and months since I have recorded. And I will talk a little bit about, now you're meeting Sally, my new puppy, and I was going to introduce her and explain a little, but she's going a little nuts hearing me talk to you. Okay, chill, this is just a podcast. Sally, sit. Good puppy, good puppy. Okay, so this is Yarn Equals Joy, episode 22. Sit. Oh my gosh. I have to put her somewhere else. It's October 17 in this ridiculously crazy year of 2020. And let's see, I am Rachel Book Girl on Instagram and Rachel on Ravelry, all the stuff. And I'll just jump right in. Why has it been, let's see, June to July, like 4 months, right? So some of it is pandemic related, and some of it is not. I really, for a while there in the summer, it's incredibly hot in Houston, and I definitely lost my knitting mojo. I will show you at the end of the podcast, if you're interested, the sewing I was doing. I'm not a big sewist. I don't make clothes or anything like that. I dabble, but I treated myself because I didn't get to go anywhere this summer and I was feeling sad and bad about that. So I treated myself to a new embroidery machine, and I was playing around with that and making some fun stuff, and the knitting kind of fell to the wayside. And then my father died suddenly. He had been in an independent living apartment and had a hard time with the loss of his normal life during the pandemic, and there were definitely challenges all summer with all of that, but he was still very able to do things, talk on the phone, and we could go outside and see him once a week. And then he had a fall and he died, and it was about a month before our shared birthday. It would have been his 89th birthday. I will talk a little bit more about my birthday in a minute. So that was a lot to deal with. And then school started. I'm a teacher in high school, and there was a lot of anxiety about what was going to happen. And we started the school year remotely. And about 3 weeks later, they brought us back to campus, which would not have been my choice. I would not have chosen that on my own. And so we were teaching in a low density campus, so half the kids came 1 week and we were still teaching the other half remotely at the same time, which I found most of my colleagues and I found to be extraordinarily difficult and exhausting. And then last week we just started a full density campus, meaning everybody is back, which seems ridiculously crazy in many ways during a pandemic, but there are lots of people making choices that I was not at the table making, but we're doing the best we can. So all of that to say, it's been a really trying several months. I've noticed that my knitting mojo has come back. And I think that it's in many ways because of my father's death. I know that when my mom died was really when I took knitting back up after many, many years and did it in a much more serious way. And I feel like it has come again to rescue me in many ways. So I'll just get into the knitting. That's a lot of preamble. I promised I would talk about the dog, so let me just end there on a happy note. I had a big decade birthday, and I was expecting to do absolutely nothing because my kids are all over the world and all over the country, and they had just been here for the funeral of their grandfather. So I really was just thinking it wasn't going to be much of a birthday, and that was okay because I had a lot of schoolwork to do. And it was a Saturday, and the phone rang at 6:30, and my son in California was saying happy birthday, and I was saying it's really early there, like the middle of the night, and he said, oh, I didn't sleep. Anyway, he was outside, long story short, and then he went off to ostensibly to see a friend of his while I graded, and he came back for lunch and said he left something in the car, and it was my other son who lives in New York. My daughter lives overseas and wasn't obviously able to fly in for a surprise birthday, but the other part of the surprise was that they walked out and walked back in with this beautiful 77-pound, 1-year-old puppy from a rescue shelter. And my dog, as some of you may remember, had to be put to sleep last December, and I have been sort of sitting on the fence trying to figure out if I have the energy and the resolve and the wherewithal and to start with a new puppy. And I've looked at puppies, and I just thought maybe I'll have a little puppy this time, or maybe I'll get an older dog, or maybe I just don't have a dog at all because it's so much responsibility, and this is a time feels weighted with so much responsibility anyway, teaching school in the middle of the pandemic. But my middle son, who is very, as someone said, he is the king of big gestures, decided that this was the birthday present I needed and did some investigating, and then went at 6 in the morning before I ever saw him to put his name on a shelter list because everything is different now, and went and auditioned dogs. And because Max was such a gentle soul, my son felt that that is the kind of dog that I wanted and needed. And so he tested all these puppies by trying to give them a snack and see how aggressively they were when they took the snack. And anyway, somehow decided on this beautiful dog, Sally, who is named after a friend of mine who passed away a few years ago, a very, very dear friend who loved dogs. And I spelled the name, hers was S-A-L-L-Y, the puppy is S-A-L-L-I-E, but it is great to have a Sally back in my life. So she has been really fun, and it is one of those moments in life where someone knew what you needed more than you knew. So I am enormously grateful for Sally and for my kids. Okay. So that's a lot of talking, much more than I normally do. So let's get to the knitting. This is my first hitchhiker shawl finished, although I know it's a pattern that lots of people like and do. I don't think it will be something that I'll do a lot of because it's just really skinny and it's not kind of the thing that I usually like. However, having said that, I think it is actually pretty perfect for Texas and this weather, this milder climate. And I think it came out pretty well. I did it with Hugh Loco's, let's see, what did I do it with? Hugh Loco's Phyllis sock, which is a 75/25 merino nylon, and it was called Wood Violet. And I think when I hold it closer, you can see that there are lots of reds and purples and browns. It's a really wearable, neutrally color. And I think with blacks or other things, it's going to be really nice. So it's not for me. I haven't decided yet. There are a couple people I'm thinking of gifting this to, so I'm not quite sure yet. And then the next is this lovely cowl, which I think I'm on the, I have followed the pattern writer, Sarah English Perry, and this is the Ode to David Hicks cowl. And I think it's absolutely stunning, and I don't know why a ton of people haven't done it. I think they just don't know of her or of it, but I think it's great. And I did it out of a Quince & Co. owl tweet that I had in stash, along with a fiber company, Lore Heaven, which is the lighter color that I had in stash. And, it came out really nicely. There's my little, one of my, I love tags, as you can tell. That's one of my little tags. And this is also a gift. I'm definitely not a green person, but I loved these colors and bought them. And they're really, I love sort of geometric shaped color work. That is one of the things I love. And this was a really easy, fun pattern, and I love doing it, and I think it came out really well. So my new cast on, not surprisingly, is kind of what many people are knitting right now, the Purl Soho half wrap triangle shawl. Everybody is inspired by Caddy Jacks, and there is a knit along, and a million people are doing it, and so am I. So I'm using the Purl Soho linen quill yarn in this kind of, I think it's called Robin's Egg Blue, and then the pink is called, what is it? I'm not sure what the pink is called, but it is, here, it's called Pink Pop. And it is a pink pop. It's coming out a little more neon-y on the screen than in real life, but this yarn is beautiful to knit with. I love shawls in the summer, not in Texas because it's so ridiculously hot, but when I travel and on planes and going out to dinner where it starts getting a little breezy or there's air conditioning, and it's just making a really beautiful fabric. This is a really easy meditative knit, which is exactly the kind I like. It is, you know, a little laborious because it's fingering, but I have enjoyed it so far. I love the feel of it, and it's just going to be this giant square with like half of it a blue and half of it this bright pink. So excited about that. It's a free pattern on Purl Soho's website, and the yarn is from Purl Soho, and it's reasonably priced yarn. It's not a crazy project for the amount of yarn you need for it. It really is, it's a great idea. Okay, so that is a new cast on, and then I'm just revisiting 2 blankets that I have been working on. So there isn't a ton of knitting right now. The first is Kay Jones from the Bakery Bears, her Bits and Bobs blanket, and as I've shown it before, I'm using this neon highlighter yellow. It's literally called highlighter from Tanis Fiber Arts, but I have a couple of them from different places and I'm just using them. And I'm carrying that with all my minis and half skeins and scraps. And the thing about this pattern is it seems to resemble kind of brioche. It's not coming out as shockingly bright as it is. It's sort of looking kind of muted, but it is super squishy and will make, I think, the best baby blanket. So one of my son's friends is expecting, I think, my thought was that during the pandemic, I may have said this already, lots of people would be home together and the young couples would think, well, let's just start our family, or accidentally their families would get started, and who knows. So I'm thinking that there will be a need for baby blankets, and I love gifting people hand knit baby blankets. The next is also a baby blanket. I suspect that it will be harder for me to part with this one. This sounds really weird. It feels like an heirloom to me. It feels like something that I will want to pass down to a grandchild, as my grandmother would say, God willing. And I'm doing this northeasterly blanket, which is Skenanigans is the pattern writer, and thinking of all of you and how much you did not need to see all my ends, I actually wove in all the million ends of all of these little balls today. But it is a really nice pattern. It also falls into the sort of meditative quality. I'm in a really bad place to show, but as you can see, you do it in columns, and I've made these very manageable columns because I knew it was going to be a baby blanket. But I just think it has this really rich, interesting look because of all the Koigu minis. And I have a giant basket filled with all the minis. I'm going to pull a couple of them just to show you how really incredible these colors are. That one's kind of a mess. Let me pick another one. Okay, so I think you can see there's just these absolutely rich colors, and I have tons of them that I collected, and now they just sit in this big basket. And I just switch them out, and I think it's going to be a really beautiful present. So that is it for the knitting projects. And then there are, of course, some stashing the joy, because what do we do when we're stuck at home and we're feeling sorry for ourselves? We order yarn. So there was a new pattern that I was not really aware of called Bean and Olive by Andrea Mowry. And it's for little kids, and I just fell in love with it. I don't have any little kids or babies in my life at the moment. This is the pattern looks like, but it's a really basic little heart pullover, and I'm going to do it in like a 6 to 12 month size, I think. And Skein Cocaine made these kits. Sorry for all the yikes. That's a lot of crunching. But it's a kit with just one of her Donegal Luxe DKs and a mini. And it will make a gorgeous baby sweater for a little girl. So I am gonna have that ready at some point as a gift knit, and I think that will be really, really fun. And then the other, I had heard lots and lots of people talking about Shirley Bryan yarn, and I had never tried it. So if you don't know, she's a Canadian dyer. This is her card. She has this crazy dinosaur. And I think you can see it's SBY, Shirley Bryan yarn. And she has what she calls deconstructed fades, and they're sock sets, so they're 2 50-gram minis. And this is called Rose Rainbow by Avery, age 7. So I guess a 7-year-old chose the colors or dyed these, I'm not sure, but I think it's super fun. And then this is another one of the deconstructed fades, and it's called Comet Neowise. And I think that is also going to be a really fun pair of socks. I don't knit a lot of socks. I want to knit socks, and I really haven't. And then, I don't know, I'm missing one of the, that's weird. Oh, here it is. I ordered a stripe set too. This is called Never Ending Story. And that's going to be a self-striping with a mini, and I think that's gorgeous. Really pretty colors. And then I can always use neutrals, and I love singles. And this is a superwash, 100% superwash fingering Helms Deep. And it's just this really lovely beige, which I think is, you know, beautiful light tonal that I can use to tone down some of my very bright stuff. So the last thing, I have two more things. One, there was a skein of yarn that I said I would give away on the last podcast. It's Less Traveled yarn in the Jessica colorway, and it's really pastel-y and sweet with a little pop of orange and yellow. It's fun. And I did ask Siri to do random number generator, and the winner is Deb Vandermeulen. So Deb, please get in touch with me if you find this again. I know it's been a really long time. Hopefully you're still around and still watching and still knitting, but let me know and I will be happy to send that to you, probably with a few other goodies, as is my usual habit. Okay, so my very last thing today is to show you some of the sewing stuff I was doing. I have been making burp pads. Again, I'm not a grandmother. I love babies, I love baby things, and they are easy little things to sew, and I just got really excited by these little burp pads. So I put them in sets. I came up with a name for the company, Sweet Babe of Mine Designs. So maybe someday that will show up on Etsy. I also was doing some beautiful embroidered bibs. This is a bunny with a matching burp pad. So I don't want to take them out of the plastic. I know they're not showing as well, but now everything has dog hair. And then I did these little knitting sheepy Notions pouches, which I was really excited about too. So maybe those will find their way into the Etsy store at some point. So that's all I've got. I hope you have been doing okay. I know that these are challenging days, and in so many different ways. I know that some people are, not worried about going to work like I am, but have lost work or been furloughed, and that is terrifying and scary in a whole different other set of ways. Some people are dealing with, relatives who've been sick, or they themselves have been sick. So please take care of yourselves and knit and find joy wherever you can, and know that I'm sending good thoughts out into the world for you and for all of us, and may we all find some happy days with our Sally or whoever brings us joy. So, bye guys.